Welcome back to the France 24 newsroom. It's night time for business news, and business editor Owen Fairclough is with me. Good morning, Owen.
Hello, Karen.
We're going to talk about the Olympics. Of course, we have to, considering it's just about over, and also the impact, the economic impact. But first, let's get a look at the opening on the European markets.
They're all a bit flat, Karen. There's that sense the Olympics are over. Nothing else to look forward to in the summer. A bit of doom and gloom. It is August, though. It's quiet. And let's not forget, European markets and indeed world markets have had a pretty good summer considering. They looked an awful lot worse than this time last year, I can tell you. Those are the numbers on the European markets. You can see the FTSE is up at least at the opening. So whether the London Olympics is finally having that impact on the economy, we'll talk about that in a moment. The Asian markets, pretty choppy days trading as well. The Nikkei closing down just a fraction. Not spectacular, but no great loss either. That's despite the fact that the Japanese government announced that GDP rose half the pace that people thought, that economists thought, rising an annualised 1.5% in the last quarter.
Now it's time to talk a little bit about that London Olympics and certainly the cashing in. Undoubtedly it's going to happen, or it has started to happen already. They're
notoriously difficult, Karen, to gauge Olympic Games in terms of the impact they have. It's very difficult to look at the kind of legacy and the kind of long-term effects of the Olympics. I've picked out a few figures though, and bear in mind these are early days. It'll take a month or two to really see the impact of these games. But the UK government spent just under £9.5 billion investing in the Olympics, building all that infrastructure. The government thinks that over the next 4 years, the Olympics will bring in around £13 billion in lots of different revenue streams, the effect on sport, the effect on tourism, that kind of thing. Now, the impact on GDP, though, is interesting to look at because the UK government thinks it'll bring in or help GDP to the tune of between 0.2 and 0.3%. Okay. The problem is, though, the UK has been stuck in a recession for some time now. And in fact, the Bank of England has been revising down its forecast this year. The UK economy is going to be pretty flat at the end of this year.
Now, you say these are early estimates, and we're naturally going to look at the other cities that have hosted the Olympics and how they fared afterwards. And certainly it's a kind of a high and low, but certainly more low than high for the most part.
It looks that way. There's been lots of studies into this. One I looked at from the US suggested that by and large, the impact is fairly short-lived on these cities. It took 4 cities that have hosted the Olympics over the past 20 years or so. Barcelona in 1992 transformed that city, put it on the world map. The problem is investment dropped by nearly 8% in the year after. But you have to take into account the fact that Europe and the rest of the world were stuck in a recession at that time. Atlanta did all right in the US. Employment grew by over 2% a year after the Atlanta Games in 96. But you look at the story of Greece. This is a country that's selling off its Olympic assets to try and bring down its crippling debts. Greek GDP actually dropped after the Athens Olympics of 2004. In the year after, GDP actually dropped 1.2%. So as you say, pretty checkered legacy.
Pretty checkered. But anyway, the spotlight's certainly on London and looking good for the time being. But let's take a look at other news apart from the Olympics and the economic benefit. Around 300,000 passengers have been forced to change their summer travel plans after the collapse of budget carrier Windjet. The Sicilian company went out of business over the weekend, leaving around 200 mostly Israeli travellers stranded in Rome. Windjet had been in takeover talks with Alitalia, but Alitalia pulled out, claiming Windjet failed to give auditors the financial data they needed to complete the deal.
Staying in Italy, the government's been forced to intervene to stop the shutdown of Europe's largest steel factory. Ministers are heading to ILVA's plant, which employs 20,000 people in the southern city of Taranto. A judge has threatened to stop production for an investigation into pollution blamed for high cancer rates.
And IAG, the parent company of British Airways and Iberia, has confirmed it's considering a stake in bankrupt American Airlines. The two companies are already linked through the One World Route Sharing Alliance. It's seen as a way of frustrating competitors Delta and US Airways, who are both reportedly considering a takeover of American. And that is all the news for now, and you're going to be back again probably tomorrow morning. Take care.